Hey guys, welcome back to whatever this is, and on today's episode, we're going to talk about the other franchise to the Mega Man Battle Network, the Mega Man Star Force. So, with this one, it is kind of the lesser of the known Mega Man games. When it comes to this one, with Mega Man Star Force, no one really knew about it. Even I slept on it when it came out. I don't know if it was fatigue or it didn't appeal to me right away, because I did end up picking it up years later, but luckily at that point no one had really picked up on it. They're really, really fun, and the weird part was they really went deep in on the Pokemon style of selling games, and it got a little weird. So, starting with the first game of Mega Man Star Force, this one I have is Dragon. You could also get it in Leo and Pegasus. Now, when it came to the first game, there were 3 different versions. So there were certain chipsets that you could only get in those versions, and I can kind of see how that hindered the game. I think that's one reason why I poo-pawed on it, and I know when it comes to Dragon, this was the GameStop or EB Games exclusive. So you could only get the green version there, and no other place. It was a little weird, which has caused this one to be the hard-to-find one. Now, these games do play really similar to the Battle Network games, but they're very different in one fundamental way. Instead of being able to see the whole field and you can kind of move around in your sector, this is a straight-on, head-on to the opponent, and you're behind Mega Man. Now, with that change, I actually found the gameplay to be a lot quicker, and that's kind of where its gameplay loop really got me. And the first one is a really, really good game. It sets up the world really, really well on how everything now evolves instead of, like, you know, everything connects to the internet. Everything is still on the internet, but everything is through, like, audio waves, AM and FM. So there's an alien force that lives in there that are coming to attack our planet, and this is one of the aliens, and certain aliens can have certain wavelengths with biological life forms, and when they find someone they sync with, they can fuse together to become the hero. So where with Battle Network you had Lan and Mega Man, you now just have Geo and Warrock. So that's how they fuse together to become Mega Man. So they have to work together, so if they're not working together, they can't fuse. I kind of like that concept, where there is a lot more to just their dynamics than just that. They have to be in sync with each other, which is a whole theme of the franchise, of being in sync, being on the same wavelength. It really hit it on the head, but I still really enjoyed the first one, especially, was really, really good. Now we come to the second one. When it came to the second game, it was okay. It wasn't great. It was, again, the Rush sequel. They made the first one, and they immediately jumped out the second game in the following year. And this is one of the times with this formula, especially with RPGs, you really felt it. This one felt like the filler arc. The second one was called Zerker, sorry, like Berserker, and Ninja. I got this one because it matched the first one. They were both green. Mainly why I picked that one. Also, ninjas are cooler. So you had these 2 versions. This one introduced a lot of cool ideas. There was these ancient weapons that you could fuse with that would give you the ability of the ninja or the Zerker. And when you start up the game, you kind of have both versions there. Now with this one, there were 2 versions only, not 3. This one had 3, this one only had 2, but both of them had Zerker. And I think they were planning on doing that 3rd version on its own, but they canceled it probably because it was so weird with this one. They just decided to not do it this time. So with this one, it was a lot more streamlined. You had 2 versions, but when you boot up, you still pick one of 2, which special abilities you want. I always pick Ninja because why wouldn't I pick Ninja? This one was a lot of fun, but it was a lot more filler. Like, there really wasn't a substantial story. I liked its base concepts, and it turned out okay because the story just kind of shows up way later. But it was a nice game for what it was. And I do really like this franchise for what it is. And this is where it gets interesting with this one, because they only got, where the original Battle Network got 6 games, this one gets 3. And what's neat with that is its 3rd game. Now, the one I have here is Red Joker. There's also another version. And with Red Joker, I found this one to be incredible. More or less, if you're only going to play just the good ones, play 1 and 3. You can kind of jump and you wouldn't miss anything. There's a bit of character development growth in here, or that you understand the characters more. But the 3rd one was actually a really excellent game, and kind of on the short end, which made me really like it. This story was really good, because it actually tied up a lot of the storylines that were started here, and actually just finished them. They knew they weren't getting another one, so they just went into it and just finished it. I loved it. It was a great, not like, oh my god, it was like a 10 out of 10 story, but for a DS little RPG, for what they had started, yeah, you pretty much got 2 really good RPGs and then a filler arc. Which, hey, for a trilogy of RPGs that really didn't get that much fanfare, because each one sold substantially less than the last, which is why it just ended. They were never doing another one after that. These games substantially sold less, which is why the 3rd one is incredibly expensive, because nobody bought it. I didn't even register this game until a few years after, and luckily at the time, I was able to call a store to get it shipped to a store closer to me so I could buy it. Luckily, that was still an option. Like, they had just started store-to-store transfers at EB Games. I managed to get it from one store, shipped to another, and then I just was able to pick it up, and I think it was only $20, because they just wanted it gone. At that point, the game was like 4 or 3 years old, but DS was still the viable format. The 3DS hadn't dropped yet. But I was really diving into the DS. As I said before, I was working as a lifeguard, and the building I worked at, not a lot of people went swimming, so I had time to spare on days. So I really got into RPGs for a few years. And with this series, I have the most interesting way on how I even got into this. There was a fan sub group that I followed for a while. They were doing a sub of another show I wanted to watch. And at some point, they picked up Rockman Shooting Star, which is what the Japanese name of these are. And I started watching it, and because I was watching that, I was like, oh, they're like 10-minute episodes. Started watching them, like, oh, these episodes are a ton of fun. And I ended up watching them, and the anime of its very short-lived life only covered the first 2 seasons. Like, the first 2 games, I should say. In its 2 seasons. And if you have ever seen a show get cut out from its knees as it was nearing completion, and pretty much had to jam about 5 episodes of content into one, oh boy, that was weird. It was the strangest thing I've ever seen. The anime did run for quite a while. It was about 13 episodes-ish for the original. A little bit more, because each episode was like only 24, 26 episodes. And they were enjoyable, they were fun, 10-minute little romps, then you just move on, right? So, bite-sized show, watch it, got me into the games, picked up the games, and I enjoyed them for what they were. And if I never watched that subtitle, I don't watch this show. And it's just fascinating just how this show was falling apart around the fact its merchandise wasn't selling, and they just cut it out from the knees, killed the show early, because in its 2nd season, called Shooting Star Tribe, which was based around this one, it ended at episode 21, which is just a really odd number to end on, and you could feel the crunch, because they were just getting to the point where he was going to get all the different abilities, and you could clearly tell that they had to cut it. It was strange. It was so bizarre. I loved it. Well, nowadays I love it. At the time I hated it. But it was neat to be like, wow, that was weird. And it's a shame, because if they actually did Season 3, that would have been really awesome. It would have made me very happy. It was very, very good. Especially because they actually, again, finished plot lines that started. You actually got some nice closure in it. It was just an excellent little RPG, and they kind of gave every character kind of like a close to their storyline that they had kind of started. Which, hey, yeah, it's a kid's game. It's going to be a little light, but hey, they did it. You don't see that very often. Now, with this one, I actually picked up the art book for it. I never thought I would. As much as I did like Star Force, I wasn't a big fan of the art style at the time, or nowadays I'm a lot more nostalgic for it, and I really, really enjoy it, because you get these beautiful drawings of just these wonderful blow-ups of the art that they have for promotional material, all in this book. And I've really grown to like this art style, and I love the world it ended up building. And it's just a shame that this one got really cut short at the knees. Again, because its anime it didn't sell well. Like, the sales on the third one were atrocious, which is a travesty considering how good it is. And before I end up leaving, I just thought I'd leave you with some fun stories. When I decided to buy this game, I ended up being kind of late for work because I was waiting for the EB Games to open. And because I was waiting for it to open, I was like not even 5 minutes down the road from my job. I just decided, nope, that store's got it. I'm going to pull in, I'm going to pick it up, and I'm going to be a few minutes late to work. So this game, I always just remember me being late for work. Just because I really wanted to pick it up, because by the time my shift ended, that store would have been closed. So I'm like, I'd rather be late and get what I wanted than not at all. I will admit I was one of those lucky people where if I was late, you can kind of dart in and no one really noticed you at the time. But that's always my weird little quirk. I always just remember this franchise reminds me that, sometimes I just go into work because I wanted to grab something beforehand, so I just end up late for work. And remember, if you're late and you bring coffee, you can never get in trouble. It wipes away the debt because you brought coffee and you are the true hero. So anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed this quick overview of the Mega Man Star Force franchise. Great series. Highly recommend if you could check them out, especially if you do like Battle Network and you kind of slept on these. Give them a try. I don't know of any ways of getting them right now. I thought they were on the Wii U Virtual Console. Apparently that didn't happen. But hopefully these will be in the next collection that Capcom's got to make. They got to do it. I believe in them. But anyways, guys, that's it for this week's episode. Take care of yourself. Always wear a mask. And take care. Have a good one.